Hello, everybody. This is me again. Um, so I'm going to be talking about the spiritual elements here, which the spiritual elements embody pretty much not just your spirit. Every spirit is pretty much your personality. It's who you are. It's basically your brain, if you want to go by science standards, I guess. Um, and everybody's spirit is different because it's just like it's your personality. It's who you are. There is one thing that is very well known about spirits, though, and that is every spirit follows one of six elements, or multiple of six elements. It depends on how strong and how charismatic you are, in a way. Um, and we'll go through all six as we go. Um, Now, mind you, a spiritual element, basically what it does is that the spirit itself creates the foundation of the element. So, the foundation of the element, pretty much what the energy will take shape of, what element the shape energy, your soul's energy will take shape. And then your soul is what feeds that energy to the element. So, a best way I can explain this is that if you were to get sacred flames, you would have a fire, but without your soul's energy, it would just be a spiritual flame, which that means it would just be able to burn ghosts and stuff, but it in spirits, but nothing in the real world. You wouldn't be able to burn anything there. That's why you would add your soul's energy to it, so it would actually affect the mortal plane. Um, Doing so changes the flame's properties and what the flames are capable of. The same goes for the divine bolts and all the others, which we'll get to in a sec. So, in a way of speaking, if you were to have sacred flames and your soul is basically, let's say gravity, like your soul is able to use omega energy, which is gravitational energy. Basically, you'll have omega flame, which, okay, cool. What this flame would do is that not only would it burn like normal fire, it would burn, but it would pull things toward it. It would be like a sucking fire. That's a horrible name for it. Pretty much like a black hole. Imagine a flame is a black hole, or imagine like the sun. It just gets pulled in, burns. Mind you, in the sun's point of view, it just disintegrates. But we're not here about science and astronomy. We're here about this. So that is a good example of that, which I will give examples of each of the elements that's currently in story for you guys to understand a little more about them. First things first, first things first is the sacred flames. Lights. I love having LEDs. The sacred flames, as I mentioned earlier, are literally if your spirit has the shape of flame, of fire, or manifest it as fire. Here's the deal. Sacred flames normally only show up to people that are very prideful in their life. Like a good example is if you are a samurai, you probably have sacred flames because normally keeping your honor was the most important thing to you. Or another way that it could be is that if you're very battle strong, like you really love battle, like you really love to prove yourself, constantly thriving to become stronger and stronger and stronger, that would probably be sacred flames. Now, mind you, as I said, so basically, the best character I can describe this is that if you're like Goku, or better yet, Vegeta probably is the better choice here. Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z would probably have a sacred flame because of all of his, our Saiyan pride and all of that. So he would probably be the one to have that. Goku would probably have a different one because he's a little more free-willed. He doesn't really care. He likes to fight, but he's kind of like different. But sacred flames are considered the most destructive of the energies because fire is the element of destruction. And that's basically it about sacred flames. They're extremely powerful. They're normally in the hands of people that are very prideful, and that's basically it. An example of someone that has sacred flames would be actually someone in the D&D you guys are in, which is, well, some of you guys are in. If some of you other guys read this, then read. Yes, you can read videos. You would know Intio has a sacred flame. His flame is cursed flame. His cursed flame literally allows him to burn any curse or any type of ghost, spirits, which spiritual energy naturally does, but in this way, he literally curses it to the point where they can't come back. His flames will even damage your soul if he does it properly. Basically, he can curse you with his flames if he wished, but he chooses not to because that's how his character is built. So there you go. That's an example of a sacred flame. There's another one, which is, but I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to do one per person, per section. But there we go. Next, we get to divine bolts. Divine bolts are electricity, as if your energy ends up taking kind of like the form of electric energy, which electricity is pretty well known as kind of like a holy element in a way, because it's basically, it is the natural element of light. Like most light in existence normally has a form of lightning. Now, some of you guys may actually say, oh no, that doesn't make sense. The LED is light. What you're seeing right now is technically a form of light coming off your monitor. And I can see some people, what about fire? You're right, fire permits light as well. No doubt there. But another thing is the sun. It's a perfect example of why it's considered like holy and all that. Because a lot of people think of the sun kind of like a holy object. Well, the sun is made of plasma, as we know, giant balls of gas. Well, lightning, when lightning strikes, the lightning is as hot as the surface of the sun. Lightning is also, when it strikes and all that, it is basically plasma. So, there you go. Regardless of that, no more sciencey. My God, Kelly, stop thinking about science. God dang, why are you such a nerd? Moving on. Basically, the idea is that divine bolts are the fastest and probably the rarest to manipulate. Because it requires someone that's very quick to think. Like, normally it's meaning that they're very quick decision making, they're extremely alert and pay attention to a lot of things. Like, basically, if you have ADHD, if you have ADHD and you're just extremely aware of everything, you're probably going to have a divine bolt. Because you're just that hyperactive, you're that naturally reactive to things. Basically, imagine it kind of like an anime character that would have divine bolt would probably be Kirito from Sword Art Online. The reason why I say this is because he has the fastest reaction time. Which would make sense why you have a divine bolt, because that would mean he has the quickest reactions, the quickest instincts. Which would make sense there. However, as I said, it's more than just that. It also means that you're quick-witted, so you're able to process and understand things just as fast as you can physically move. So, yeah. So, divine bolts are unique and all that. So, an example of divine bolts would be Sir Andrew, the captain of Madhouse. He has Vanta Bolt, which is basically the exact opposite of being a divine. It is literally dark energy. His soul is dark energy and has dark energy in it, and his energy is known as Vanta energy, which is pretty much a shade of darkness. It's a very dense dark energy. And quick energy, I'm saying if the denser the energy is, the harder it is to destroy. So the idea of this is that his lightning, and most black lightning and all that, is different. Like, it'll be black with a white outline and all that. His bolt's not like that. It's just straight up black. There's no outline to it. It just absorbs all the light. It does the exact opposite of what normal light does. It absorbs it. Which is actually kind of terrifying when you think of it. So it's pretty much dark energy that moves as fast as light energy. Ah, there you go. That's a scary thought. But that's an example of that. He basically can move the densest, very dense energy at light speed. So yeah, scary. Anyway, moving on to the next one on our list. I don't know what this is going to turn into, but I'm going to use this one because, yeah, I'm going to use purple for ancient stones because that's the only thing I can really think of for stone, because you can't really make brown light very easily. I wish you could, but you can't. So pink's going to have to be ancient stones. Then we have the ancient stones. The ancient stones is if you're stone-like. If you're very... stone-like. Yes, Kylie. Stone-like. Probably say it's more like if you're very set in your ways. A good idea means that you're very set in your ways. You follow a path and you stay with this path. You normally... the sacred stones are someone that wants to protect something. Like, they really want to protect something. No matter what gets in their way, they're going to stand there and protect it. A good example of this, I'd probably say like an anime and all that. A good example of like a sacred stone, an ancient stone. That is a good example, actually. That is a good question, not example. I honestly can't think of one that would have an ancient stone offhand. Pretty much the idea is that you're set in stone. So it's hard to make you vary from your path. Like, if you make a decision, you're following that decision. You are ironclad. It's not easy to persuade you otherwise. I don't know. I'd probably say the best person I could probably say of anime that would make sense here, I would probably have to say either probably Kaido, actually. Kaido would make a good one from One Piece, because he is so set on protecting that island and keeping what he has. Which is actually a pretty good example of ancient stone, because he is protecting the thing he holds most dear. Well, not most dear, but pretty much he's also standing for something. Stones only means they're standing for something. They have a goal set in mind. They're going to keep on it. No matter what happened, he stayed on his goal. He stayed on his goal. He sat there and did not let it get touched by anybody. So basically him saying, I'm going to create the pirate paradise or whatever, and keeping Wano to himself and all that, saying, hey, you ain't messing with my island. That's an example of that. So basically, if you're a guardian, like you're protecting something, you're probably going to, like, you're set your life to protect something, you're probably going to have an ancient stone. So there you go. So there's one. And it's a One Piece reference too. Let's see. So ancient stones are very interesting. They're very strong. An example of ancient stones from the story. Oh boy. There are so few people with ancient stones in the story. I'm not joking. Actually, Freya. Freya has one, actually. You guys, I think, I haven't decided whether you guys will meet Freya or not. You guys might, but depends on what you guys do. Anyway, regardless, Freya has an ancient stone. Her ancient stone is literally basically compaction, I guess. You can compile stone into such a ridiculous degree. And not really compact as in she can basically, how do I explain it? Geometrize it? So you can turn it into freaking cubes. Basically, you know that what was it, the Tazakage from Naruto? Don't remember. It's the one that uses the cube like jutsu. Didn't really read into it. It's similar to like that, but it doesn't just disintegrate anything. Basically, with anything in that zone, she compresses into a small freaking cube, and then in just a simple snap, she can like that. But basically, what this allows her to do is that the stone, anything the stone has, she can do similar to. Anything her stone touches and manipulates with, it can do similar to. So basically, if she were to encase you in stone, she can shrink you into a freaking miniature statue of yourself. And it wouldn't hurt you. You'd just be stuck in a stone. So there's an idea of ancient stone. Ancient stone, as I said, is actually again one of the rare ones. Spiritual elements by themselves are quite rare in the series, but a lot of people have them. Most of the characters you'll meet will have them. Ancient stones are also kind of the boring ones because they really don't really have much to show. They're not super flashy. Sorry, Toph. And then we will get to ancient. No, wrong one. Oh god, that's not working. Why is this not working? It's not working, guys. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Well, you guys are just witnessing a light show today. Alright, that'll work. Noble dusts. As much as I wish it was a much brighter color, it won't be a brighter color. Anyway, noble dusts are ice. Honestly, one of my favorites. And the reason why is because noble dusts are like very weird because it doesn't take the shape of just like solid ice. Like you don't just solid ice. It turns into like a dust, like a fog. Not really a fog, kind of like a dust that goes in the air and then you can freeze it in an instant. Pretty much flash freeze. But again, each ice also has different properties, so you can still make ice kind of like you drop from the ground, but normally the ice follows the dust that your energy creates. Noble dusts are ice and all that. Normally, it goes to people that are very calm and collected, even in stressful situations. Like, no matter what's going on, they're kind of like that, oh, okay, staying calm, whatever, let's just get this taken care of. This is terrifying, they are powerful, let's finish them off. A good example of a character that is perfect example of this is, I want to say Shikamaru from Naruto, because his Shadow Jutsu, he's able to strategize in combat. But now that I'm thinking about it, it makes more sense if he was a divine bolt, because he was very quick to react to things. But again, Shikamaru would be a character that would probably have two because of that. Normally, ice represents someone that's very. The noble dust will go to someone that's normally very calm and collected, able to think well and make wise decisions. Not wise decisions, but they're intuitive. Intuitive. They think outside the box normally. They will think outside the box and find different solutions. Deku. Midoriya from it would be a good example of this. Even in combat and all that, he's able to think of something that most heroes wouldn't think of and find a way around their ability and fight back and take them out. That is a perfect example of that. He finds a way around fighting and all that to take him out, which is very intelligent, very useful, very strong. I wouldn't say strong, but Noble Dust is extremely unique because, as I said, it's the only one that doesn't take instant shape. It actually has like a timed delay between activation, I guess. Basically, it's just like a dust or ice fog or whatever, and it freezes anything that is within it. Now, mind you, depending on how strong an enemy is, depends if they freeze solid or not. Normally, you won't freeze them solid, but if they are encased in your eyes, like a part, it will have that unique ability applied to them. For example, there is a character you guys will meet that does have a noble dust, and it is going to, and the dust is called Kelvic dust. If you guys do not know, Kelvin is unique in its own way. But technically, if you want to go by the correct pronunciation, well, not correct, my pronunciation of the energy is Kelvonic energy. This Kelvonic energy basically is absolute zero. It's freezing. Now, some of you guys may think, oh, this is manipulating time. Yes and no. This is not manipulating time itself, it's manipulating matter. But basically what happens is that with Kelvic ice, Kelvic dust, technically is what it's called, if it freezes something, anything frozen inside it, its molecular structure is frozen. Meaning it's so cold, it stops the atoms from moving. Now, normally this wouldn't be that big of a deal, but if atoms stop moving, cells stop moving. Everything stops moving in that. Meaning, basically, if they encased you in Kelvic ice, one, you would never thaw, because fire would not affect it. Its atoms are frozen. Technically, it would be practically indestructible. And you're basically immune to time itself. Because if your body's molecules are not vibrating, are not moving in any way, you won't age. Your cells can't move. They can't die. They can't regenerate. They can't even continue on with life. Your brain wouldn't be able to send electrons or anything because it's not... Mind you, the electrons and nerves and all that, you'd still be conscious because the neurons in your nerves are alive. They are activated with electric current. So that's actual energy. It doesn't freeze energy. It just freezes physical objects. So that is the only way to actually save yourself from this, is if you had aggro sync. If you had aggro sync using energy to toughen up your body, you could break out of it. But basically, if you went up against this character with Kelvic dust, and he froze you, and you didn't have def sync, you're screwed. Because if he freezes you, encases you with that ice, you're done. You're not getting out of it. Anyway, tangent there. As I said, noble dusts are one of my favorites because it's one of those things that's like, it has a big disadvantage, but it has a huge reason for it. But noble dusts are the ice, and they're very well decent. I'm not going to give you the name of the person that has that because you guys are going to meet them. Next up we have, it's not as exciting because it's too, there we go, makes me look like I'm underwater. Forgotten Waters. Forgotten Waters is water. Forgotten Waters normally are very interesting and fluid-like, and, well, you know what waters are. Water is. Now, each Forgotten Water is different, just like all the others. The people that normally have this are someone that's set on a straight path, in a way. Best way I can put that. Like, meaning they follow a line. Kind of like, imagine a river. It flows in one direction. It doesn't flow backward. It flows in one direction. So, meaning they normally go forward in that one direction. They don't turn back. Like, if they want to go forward, if they have a goal in mind, like, a good example of this is, actually, that is a good example. What? They don't look back. Basically, the character will not look back. They don't see a reason to have to look back. So, let's see here. What? Who? You guys tell me. Who do you guys think would be a good example of this? Because I'm not sure. Um, I kind of wanted to say Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. He never looked back. He never looked back against saving his sister. He always kept going to save his sister. Um, hmm. Yeah, I'd probably say that'd probably be the best one for it, honestly. But yeah, basically, Tanjiro, go figure, Tanjiro's thing would be freaking Forgotten Waters, because literally he uses water breathing style. Um, that is funny, actually. Um, but yes, he would use that Tanjiro would be a good example of this. An example of Forgotten Waters that you guys have met already is Tess. Tess has the Nile waters, which all the Forgotten Waters, all the spiritual elements actually have kind of like a gimmick of their name to them, which you guys will figure out. If you guys can figure out about the Forgotten Waters, they're normally named after rivers. Um, anyway, so the waters are very unique because, for one, it's basically like water bending in a way, but not exactly. Like, you don't, if it's aura, that's the difference between aura and spiritual elements. Spiritual elements, you don't need a water source near you. You literally are using your soul to use it, to create this water. Um, so there's not much I can really say about Forgotten Waters that would make a lot of sense. Forgotten Waters all have unique properties and unique skills, just like any other spiritual element or the other spiritual elements. But the biggest thing about it is, like, I'd probably say its biggest advantage is the fact that most physical attacks are probably not going to affect it. It can maneuver around attacks pretty effortlessly, and it makes you very hard to hit because you can just protect yourself from water. And not to mention, you can straight up drown them if you know how to use it properly. Uh, so, now, a character that has spiritual minutes of Forgotten Water is Tess, as I said. Um, there's not much else I can really say about the Forgotten Waters, because, as I said, it's one of those that really, it's powerful, but it also depends on the energy that's supplying the elements. So there you go. Um, so moving on from that, let's get to the last and the least, I guess. I wouldn't say least, but we have the Lost Winds. The Lost Winds are extremely uniquely powerful energies. Um, and the Lost Winds are wind. Duh. Um, and the Lost Winds normally go to someone that is very free-hearted, free-willed. A good example of this would be Luffy. Luffy is very open-hearted, free-going, willing to just have any type of fun he wants. He doesn't care what other people think. I'm gonna turn that a little down. He doesn't care what other people think. He's gonna have fun. Pretty much means that he's open to anything. It means basically you're free-willed. You're easygoing. You don't let things weigh on you. Basically, it's kind of like that idea. It's just like, oh, let's do this and this and this. I'm a freeze here. I'm back. Okay. But yes, that's basically what this is. Lost Winds are. Luffy would be a perfect example of that. Another good example of that would probably be oh, I know a character, but I don't know how many people know this character. Another character that I would probably say that would perfectly fit this. Honestly, come to think of it, I think Link would be a good one. Link is normally pretty free-willed. From the one from Breath of the Wild, he has the entire world to explore. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna do this and this and this. This is pretty much that kind of mindset. Imagine you're in an open world and you're the character that just wants to do every other side quest and do anything else because you want to. Because you wanted to. Because it sounded like fun. So basically, it's hard to keep you on track. But, okay, come to think of it, I'm just making. I mean, this literally just sounds straight up. If you have a sacred wind, if you have a lost wind, you basically are ADHD. Simple enough. If you have ice, you're probably going to be very OCD. If you have the ice, you're probably going to have OCD. If you have sacred flame, you're probably going to be very impulsive. You're probably going to be more. Come to think of it, maybe I should explain it like that, because it probably would make more sense. So, let's go through all of them real quick. Let me give you an example of Lost Winds first. An example of Lost Winds, wow, that works brilliantly, would be Silverwind. Silverwind basically is very weird. One of the vanguards that you guys will possibly meet has it, which his name is Silver Waters. Which, yeah, waters. You think you would have a lot forgotten water. No, he has a wind. Silver Waters, he basically was the one that created an air slash. Like, if he slashes, he can actually make a sword beam out of that, out of a sword, a blade and all that. Which you guys will find out in a bit. Basically, it's light wind. It's basically light enhanced wind. It's like light beams, light slashes. That's pretty much it. But you can do a lot more of wind. You can fly with it. You can do a lot of other things, just like all the others. With water, you can swim in water. You probably won't drown in it if you are doing it properly. Anyway, moving on. So, brief recap or review about what's going on, and I'll simplify it basically. If you have a sacred flame, you're probably impulsive and prone to anger. You probably have anger issues. You're very aggressive. If you have a divine bolt, you're probably more instinctive and more reflective, like more reactive to things. You're probably more reactive and probably quicker, more athletic, probably. If you have an ancient stone, you're very stoic and basically are just like, okay, I'm staying here. I made my mind. That's that. So basically, you're a really focused person. If you have a noble dust, you probably have freaking OCD. Because you're good at thinking, you think outside the box and all that, but you also are very particular about how you do some things. Forgotten Waters, if you have Forgotten Waters, you're probably more at peace, honestly, actually. You're more at peace and probably more relaxed and all that. I'd probably say you're more wiser, I guess is the best way to put it. You're one of the wise ones, because it makes sense there. And then if you have a lost wind, you are free-willed. You are impulsive. Not impulsive, but you're free-willed. You do whatever you please. You're basically ADHD. You basically have ADHD. That works pretty well, right? But yeah, and when it comes to characters and all how it's going to work in D&D, each element is going to base on a different stat. Sacred Flames is going to be strength. Makes sense. Divine Bolts are going to be dex. Ancient Stones are going to be constitution. Noble Dusts are going to be intelligence. Forgotten Waters is going to be wisdom. And then Lost Winds will be charisma. Which, if you think about it, with what I just said and all that, you can see where these actually fit into place quite well. So whichever one you guys get, what's going to happen is that your modifier, your stat for that stat is going to represent that ability. So basically, if you have Sacred Flame, your strength modifier is what's going to be your proficiency with said element. So let's say for Egan for existence, he's a -1 in strength. If you were to get a Sacred Flame, if his were to be a Sacred Flame, poor guy. If a -1 to all his freaking fire. But yeah, that's basically it. If you have questions about it, let me know, because I will gladly answer any you have. Oh, I almost forgot to share this guy. Serbato! Curious, does it look green? If it reflects the light? Nah, not really. Oh well. Basically, that's what I wanted to show today. So if you guys enjoyed, let me know. I like this describing things and giving my personal ideas out. Anyway, so thank you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye. Actually, yeah, bye.